Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome back to the middle of the order and another TOP, the last week of them. Today, we start our last third half of the TOPs. 20 down, 10 to go. And today's episode, the Tampa Bay Rays. Yes, I have them, if you would say, criminally low on the year, but I still think they're going to have a good year here. So let's talk about your Tampa Bay Rays. Last year, they finished 99 and 63. They were 4th in runs for, 5th in ERA, and 5th in runs against. They finished 2nd in the AL East, 2nd in the AL, and 4th in the MLB as a whole. They did, however, get swept 2-0 in the Wild Card Series at home versus the eventual World Series champion Texas Rangers. They will have the 18th overall pick in this year's draft. Let's start by who they added. Ryan Pepiot comes over in a deal. Johnny DeLuca comes over in that same deal. Jose Caballero comes over with a deal with the Mariners. Richie Palacios, a trade with the Cardinals. Ahmed Rosario, Phil Maton, the two guys they signed in free agency, and then Tyler Alexander, a name that you would know. They claimed him off of waivers from Detroit. That's all. You know, a very small list. Tampa Bay, very homegrown team, likes their young players, and when they're about to hit free agency, they trade them away, and that's exactly what they did. Again, essentially, they do every year. This year, they lost Tyler Glasnow, a huge piece in the Rays rotation. You know, he's getting up there in value, and they, never been higher. They traded him to the Dodgers, as well as Manuel Margot. They're both gone. Robert Stevenson gone. Andrew Kittredge gone. Vidal Brujan gone. And then Luke Raley was gone. Jake Diekman, Ramel Tapia. A few guys here from the waivers even. Christian Benthcorth, Jalen Beeks, Josh Fleming. Those were guys who were producing a little bit in the Rays lineup last year. Try to sneak them back through waivers to AAA and claimed by other teams. Guardians, Phillies. So those are the guys who are leaving the Tampa Bay's roster. But they still have a good kind of young team overall. And they also have Devil Magic. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays Magic, let me tell you, it's a curse and a blessing. A curse for the other teams, blessing for the Rays. The rotation is as followed. Zach Eflin, Aaron Savali, Zach Lytle, Ryan Pepiot, and Taj Bradley. Now, of course, that is not their star rotation, but we'll talk about that shortly. The bullpen, Great Arm number 1, Great Arm number 2, Great Arm number 3 to 8, because the Rays have this magical ability to always pick up and find and bring up the best relievers in the game, or they turn them into the best relievers in the game. And this year's no difference, because the bullpen is great, and it's names that I know from watching these Rays turn these players into stars or just great bullpen pieces. Headlined by their closer Pete Fairbanks, Jason Adam, Colin Pouchet, Phil Maton, Sean Armstrong, who had an incredible last year, Garrett Clevenger, Chris Davinsky, and then Tyler Alexander. All 8 guys you would know, guys that I know, and overall just a great bullpen. They always have a great bullpen. The ERA is always super low because of those guys. They work hard over there. The lineup is as followed. Yandy Diaz, batting first, playing first. Brandon Lau, bats second, plays second. Randy Arozarena in left field, bats third. Josh Lowe in right field, bats fourth. Isaac Paredes, the third baseman, batting fifth. Jonathan Aranda, the designated hitter, bats sixth. Jose Siri bats seventh in center field. Jose Caballero, the shortstop, batting eighth. And that rounds up with Rene Pinto, the catcher, batting ninth. The bench is as followed. Curtis Mead, top prospect. Ahmed Rosario, Harold Ramirez, and right now listed Alex Jackson, non-roster invitee. That's probably because he would be the backup catcher. Obviously, there's better guys that they have in their farm system that would be suited, but they are going to need that second catcher, and right now it's looking like it would be Alex Jackson, according to Fangraphs. So, let's talk first about some injuries that they have that makes their rotation go from a 10 to about a 5-6, because they're definitely missing some names. The biggest one, Shane McClanahan. That is a huge name to be missing. And it's not the only name. Shane Baz, Jeffrey Springs, and Drew Rasmussen, 4 starting pitchers dealing with injuries. Last year was a tough year for Tampa in the injury department, and it continues into this year because they, first of all, lost... Which one they lose first? Jeffrey Springs, I believe. They lost him at the end of April. He was having an incredible start to the season. Who knows how good the Rays could have been had all these guys stayed healthy. Jeffrey Springs in April. Then in then in July, they lost Drew Rasmussen. And then in August, they lost Shane McClanahan. 3 of their best starting pitchers all going down with injury. Shane Baz, he had Tommy John surgery at the end of 2022. He should be pretty close to being ready, but I believe Tampa's going to start him in the minor leagues anyways, just to get him kind of reaccumulated and get some innings under his belt before bringing him back up. So he's projected to start the year in minor league baseball. Jeffrey Springs, Drew Rasmussen, and Shane McClanahan all had either Tommy John or elbow surgeries. So they're all going to be either on the 60-day IL or just on the injured list in general. Jeffrey Springs, the one to watch, because obviously, being on the 60-day IL means he wouldn't be able to play until the end of June. But if he would be ready for May, because he did fall to Tommy John surgery in April, so he should be close to being ready in about May-ish, they might put him on the 15-day IL just so he is able to come back sooner. Rasmussen, he should be at the end of the second half, and Shane McClanahan might just miss the whole season in general because his surgery came at the end of August, so who knows what his situation is like. And those 3 and 4 aren't the only injuries they have. Johnny DeLuca, the guy they got in the Dodger trade, he has a fractured hand as of yesterday, or like 2 days ago. So he's expected to be on the injured list. Not sure about him yet. Josh Lau, he has hip inflammation right now, but he should be ready to go for the opening day lineup, and that's why he was still listed as a part of the opening day. And then Taylor Walls, he had hip surgery at the end of October. He's expected to start on the injured list as well. So plenty of injuries for the Rays to work around at the beginning of this year. Taking a look into next year and the free agents that they have, Ahmed Rosario, 1-year contract, so he's obviously a free agent. Sean Armstrong, really good relief pitcher, or came into a really good relief pitcher last year. He's gone. And then Phil Mayton, Brandon Lau, and Chris Davinsky are all on club options. Brandon Lau being the one that stands out to me as being kind of a face of that franchise in a way, but we'll talk about him a little bit more shortly. Or actually, let's talk about him now. Brandon Lau, this guy, I feel like, has been criminally underrated, whether it be because of injury or just, I would say injury. Got his first chance in 2019, finished 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting, and was an All-Star. 2020, he finished 8th in MVP voting. 2021, played 149 games and finished 10th in MVP voting. 2022, only played 65 games, 55 games. He was hurt for a good amount. And then last year, again, struggling with a little bit of injuries, did play 109 games, 87 hits, a 231 batting average, and a 771 OPS. I think this guy is still a great second baseman in the game right now. I think he's up there. 21 home runs. He's got the power. His contact you wish would be a little bit higher. Batting average, if you can bring that to about 250, OPS will climb. He's a good second baseman. He's one of the guys that, as an average fan, I feel like you should know Brandon Lau's name. He is one of their players, one of their good guys, I would say. Not that they don't have a bad guy, because, like I said, people come to the Rays and then just get better. No matter how bad or struggling they were on other teams, and how bad Tampa Bay Stadium is, they just find a way to turn these guys into great players. And Brandon Lau is no exception. And I think a healthy, consistently good Brandon Lau is a very good second baseman and definitely top 10 in the league. Josh Lau, I always confuse because it's Brandon Lau, Josh Lau, and then Nathaniel Lowe. I'm pretty sure, no, because Josh Lowe, I think it's Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe, Nathaniel Lowe, because Josh Lowe and Nathaniel Lowe are brothers, or Nate Lowe, on Texas Rangers. So Josh Lowe is who we're talking about now. Finally got his first opportunity. Was a prospect, young kid in the Rays organization. Last year, kind of a breakout, kind of first year for him, and it was a great year for him. 135 games, 136 hits, 83 RBIs, 20 home runs, a 292 batting average, and 835 OPS. This is going to be the right fielder for the next 4 or 5 years, unless he's traded earlier than that. He's great, and he is on contract for a nice bit here. He looked really good for the Rays last year, and I think that's just a great start for a young player in their organization. He plays a good defense as well, and a left-handed as well. So Josh Lowe is a good player, part of the Rays, whole lineup heavy kind of offense. Of course, the face of the franchise, Randy Arozarena, Rookie of the Year, ALCS MVP. He's an All-Star. He's great. His All-Star appearance was last year. 151 games, 140 hits, a 254 batting average, a 789 OPS, 23 home runs. Definitely cooled off in the second half, but then again, Tampa Bay as a whole cooled off in the second half. They had that flying start in MLB last year. They were 13-0 to start the season before losing to Toronto. Had a little bit of a struggle leading up to the All-Star break, and then really kind of, still playing great baseball with Baltimore hot on their tails, though. They eventually fell to them, lost the division to Baltimore, and that's kind of where, the Rays season not ended, but it was starting to look bleak. The more injuries that came up, like once they lost Shane McClanahan, I think people were starting to really doubt the Rays into the rest of the 2023 season. When some of their star players at the beginning of the season, they all cooled off as well. When Tampa Bay is going 13-0, all the players are producing. Yandy Diaz being one of those players, he had a phenomenal year, finished 5th, I believe, or 6th in MVP voting, was an All-Star, was a Silver Slugger, 137 games, 173 hits, led the AL with a 330 batting average. I believe it was the AL, maybe the league as a whole. With a 330 batting average, a 932 OPS, definitely one of the best first basemen last year. So a repeat season of that from Yandy would be huge for Tampa Bay, as he was kind of one of those guys who was healthy and playing all year round. Despite the 137 games, we know that Kevin Cash loves to, have 2 or 3 different lineups that he'll send out depending on the pitcher. And, there's a lot of platoon in the Tampa Bay Rays baseball. They're very, creative there. They're the first team that kind of introduced the opener a couple years ago. Of course, that's more been a thing of the past, even though we still see it occasionally in today's game. But Tampa Bay's smart. Kevin Cash and the analytical team, they know what they're doing there. Throughout the regular season. Playoffs, well, there's still question marks there, but as a whole, the lineup, the bullpen, they just find guys and are great. They trade for guys, and I mentioned Curtis Mee, top prospect, listed opening day roster on the bench. Junior Camareno is also a top prospect of theirs, and he maybe is just as good. He got a little bit of opportunity last year towards the end of the season, and he looked great. And, these are guys, Carson Williams, another player of theirs, that just, they look ready, they look young, and they're good, and they'll just come up and be great. They make trades, they like that, they just find guys. Isaac Paredes being one of those guys. They trade with Detroit, and he was all right with Detroit. He comes over, and then he's a star with Tampa. They just have a formula for it. The big thing that's going to be, the question marks or the things to ask about the Rays in 2024, at least the start of 2024, is the pitching. How good can the pitching be, led by Zach Eflin, who is probably right now listed as the opening day starter, I'd imagine. He had a, good first year with Tampa, finished 6th in Cy Young. I'd say that's pretty good. 16-8, a 3.5 ERA, 177 innings eaten by him, 186 strikeouts. Kind of a career year for him after spending the first 7 of his years with the Phillies organization, where his best ERA there was 3.97, and that was in COVID year, so he got a lot less starts. Last year, 31 starts made, a 3.5 ERA, his best year. It is his first year with Tampa. Tampa just turns pitchers around. So And that's the thing with the Rays. On paper, you look at this team and you think, good team. But in the reality of it, they play a lot better than the team will suggest. Any projections and things that people are like, oh, Jose is going to hit this many home runs this year, double it. Like when they're on the field, that Devil Rays magic is just better than you can imagine, and they just find ways to win. And until that stops, you cannot count the Rays out. They're gonna be in the mix for postseason. They're gonna be up in everyone's business. They're a problem for a lot of teams. So yeah, the rotation, could it be Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Jeffrey Springs, Taj Bradley, Zach Eflin, Shane Baz? They have so many options there. Right now, Zach Eflin, Aaron Savali, some question marks around him. Zach Lytle, a little bit of question marks around him. Ryan Pepio, what do you get out of him from the Dodgers trade? I mean, you traded Tyler Glasnow for this guy, so they definitely see something they like. So I'm sure he's going to have a fantastic season. And then Taj Bradley, one of their young prospects, young kids as well. He's only 23. So, I mean, even without McClanahan, Rasmussen, Springs, Baz, like the rotation's still all right. A little bit more question marky than Shane McClanahan, bona fide ace, the next Blake Snell from Tampa Bay. So yeah, that's the only thing that you can kind of maybe, question mark, maybe the bottom of that lineup. Rene Pinto, never been a great hitter. The Jose Siri, Jose Caballero kind of do at the bottom. Both speedy guys, both great defenders, but, we'll have to see how the hits come. Jose Siri a little bit more advanced in that way. He's got a little more power, but he has to make the contact, and that's something that he does kind of, hit or miss in. So, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some issues with the Rays, as any baseball team will have in a season. But overall, I think it's going to be a strong year for them, as it usually is. And like I said, you can't count the Rays out. We've seen it too often in years past to doubt on the Rays roster. Like, yes, on paper, I have them fourth in the division. I think the Blue Jays are better on paper. I think the Yankees are better on paper. I think the Orioles are better on paper. But it's different when they're on the field. This Rays team comes together. Like, yeah, I'm talking about them. I haven't talked about the other AL East teams yet, besides Boston. So, like, yeah, in general, I would still put Tampa fourth. But I did that last year, and they proved me wrong right away by winning 13 straight. Like, you cannot count Tampa Bay out. And not that I'm going to do it again this year, but hey, I still think they might come fourth in the division despite this team. Like, yes, I think it would have helped if they had McClanahan and the other guys. But the team is still good. The bullpen is fantastic. Probably the best bullpen in baseball for the last 2-3 years. There's no... and that's the best thing about the Rays bullpen, too, is that it's not a star pitcher. Like, Pete Fairbanks is great. Jason Adams is good. But, they're all but Pete Fairbanks is no Devin Williams, Josh Hader, Emmanuel Clase, Felix Bautista, etc. But he is still a great closing pitcher. All of these guys are great closing pitchers. And I mean, that's the scary thing about Tampa, is that who any one of these guys can come out and just be a great bullpen that, and get them through the day, get them a win. So as a whole, Tampa Bay, you always got to watch your back around them. They're going to be scary. I think it'd be great. Who knows? Because yes, on paper or from years past and judgment years past, yes, they're going to be good. But on paper, I mean, Yanni Diaz had a great year last year, but it's always been kind of up and down with him in years prior. Randy's been, kind of a star. Josh Lau, what kind of, sophomore season's he going to have? Aranda, what are you going to get out of him in a full season? Like, a lot of these guys are still young guys, kind of unproven. Just a lot of highly, prospected, talented guys that if all things go according to plan for Tampa, and if players are playing at their best level, they're going to be good. They're going to be competing for a playoff position again this year. I just don't know how it's going to translate to the Yankees and the Blue Jays and Baltimore. But that's what I'm going to say about your Tampa Bay Rays. The over-under, according to FanDuel here, is 84.5. And like I said, how do you go from a 99-win season and only have them at 84.5? I think they'll come fourth in the division, but I think the other AL teams as a whole aren't great. I'm not going to doubt the Rays on this one. Give me the over. 85 wins for this Tampa Bay team. Oh yeah, and especially when Springs comes back, when Baz gets called up again. Yeah, this Tampa Bay Rays team will be good in 2024. But just how is it going to compete when it comes to Houston and Texas and Seattle and the AL East teams? I'm not sure, but Tampa Bay, watch your back. They are going to be good. The over is hit. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to this TOP. The first one of the day, one more coming out at 11, so be prepared for that. It's an NL West team, and it's not the Dodgers. So you should know which team it is. Thank you, everybody, so much, and I will see you next time.